What's going on, guys? Jacob here, Miami Dolphins Syndicate. Before we get started, let us know down below in the comments, where will you be watching week 1 from? I'm probably going to be watching it from Hooters with some friends. Are you going to be at the stadium? Are you going to be watching with friends, family? What you going to be doing? Where are you going to be doing it? Let us know down below in the comments. Donovan will be at the stadium, so I'm sure a lot of you guys watching this will also be there. Let us know down below, but we're going to be focusing all on week 1 for the next few days, and today we are focusing on the two quarterbacks, Tua and Trevor Lawrence. So both of these guys had very similar college careers. Both were the undisputed #1 overall picks going into their last year into college. Obviously, things turned out a little bit differently for Tua as he sustained his major injury, slips to number 5 as the #2 quarterback coming off the board. Trevor Lawrence, on the other hand, had an incredible career in college and finished it well, finished it strong, did not get injured like Tua did, and he remained that #1 overall pick going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Both had so much pressure coming into the league, and both to some extent or the other have risen up to the occasion and lived through that pressure. And then you look at what the two quarterbacks have done since coming into the league, you look at what their teams have done since coming into the league, and just going off the last 2 years, you eliminate Trevor Lawrence's rookie year and you have them both even out on the last 2 seasons combined. Both have a winning record, both have made the playoffs at least one time. Tua and the Dolphins made the playoffs each of the last 2 years. Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars just missed out on the playoffs last year, however, made it to the playoffs the year before and won in the first round, a dramatic comeback against the Chargers, where they were able to go on to the Chiefs and obviously lose in Arrowhead. 2 years ago, 9 wins for the Dolphins, 10 wins last year. Last year for the Jaguars, 9 wins, and the year before that, also 9 wins. Won their division the year they won a playoff game against the Chargers. Really through a piss-poor AFC South, got 9 wins. Everybody else in the division had less than 500 record, whereas Tua and the Dolphins both times had to go to the playoffs via the wild card. So both players have had similar stories when they were in college. Both were elite. Both were consensus #1 overall picks. Tua would have probably have been, barring his injury, and both have seen similar team success since coming into the NFL. But who are they as players? Who are they in terms of who they were expected to be? Tua came into the NFL as he, I think, pretty much has become. He is somebody that is incredibly accurate, is arguably one of the best game managers college football has ever seen, and has come in and been asked to do the same thing now with Mike McDaniel, and has stepped up to the plate in doing so. You're not going to get that extra athleticism, you're not going to get that extra pop from Tua, but what he does well, he excels at a high level, and we've seen him get better and better every season, obviously playing more games each season, but he's thrown just about 1,000 yards more each season going into the next. I obviously don't expect that to continue into next season, throwing around 4,600 yards last season, stepping up to like 5,500. Obviously is not a reasonable expectation, but Tua in the Dolphins offense has been clicking more and more as each season has gone on. Again, especially now with Mike McDaniel, the accuracy goes up, the passing yards goes up, the passing touchdowns, the interception ratio has gone up, the passer rating has gone up. Tua's game is continuing to elevate. We have not seen the postseason success like Trevor Lawrence has, but we have seen constant progression with Tua, especially now with this Mike McDaniel offense. Now you look at the other side with Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence was halted as this do-it-all quarterback, a undisputed generational talents coming out of Clemson, and had every right to do so. You look at the size, you look at the arm, you look at the mobility, you look at the poise, the championship acumen at Clemson. Everything screamed that Trevor Lawrence was going to be the reincarnation of the likes of Peyton Manning, however, with a bit of an athletic flair to him that you did not see in quarterbacks of the past. And while we've certainly seen that from Trevor Lawrence in moments, everything I just mentioned, he's an incredibly talented quarterback. However, especially last season, most recent things that we've seen from Trevor Lawrence indicate that he may have taken a step back. You can talk about how Tua in the Mike McDaniel offense has continued to get better. Now, Trevor Lawrence in year 2 with Doug Peterson, you did not see that progression in the offense. You did not see that progression in the understanding and the capabilities that Doug Peterson wants the Jacksonville quarterback Trevor Lawrence to run. I did not see Trevor Lawrence step up this next season with Doug Peterson that we did with Tua under Mike McDaniel. Again, you just look at the numbers, whereas we saw with Tua, everything has progressed and gotten better as his career has gone on. Last year, even though, yes, he's only been in the NFL for 3 seasons, it was his worst season since his rookie year, with completion percentage going down, with yards going down, touchdown interception ratio going down, passer rating go down, all these statistical categories the Jacksonville Jaguars have gone down. And whereas 2 years ago they made the playoffs, won a playoff game, they had a massive choke at the end of last season, having a 9-3 record at one point in the season and then going all the way to missing out on the playoffs. So we've talked about what they've done in college. We've talked about what the teams have done since coming into the NFL. We've talked about their numbers. Now, what does the eye test tell us about these two quarterbacks? With Tua, eye test is obvious. You're not getting a superb athlete. You're not getting a very traditional quarterback. Tua does not look like quarterbacks of the past. He's left-handed, undersized, doesn't have a big arm, isn't that athletic. It doesn't look like quarterbacks now even. So he doesn't really fit into any of the boxes that you expect your quarterback to be like. However, like we keep mentioning with his talents, the things he does well, he does at an extremely high level. Trevor Lawrence, eye test, passes everything. The arm, the athleticism, the mobility, the acumen, everything about Trevor Lawrence, just looking at him on a piece of paper, looks like he should be one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL, and just quite frankly, that's not what he's been so far at this point in his career. Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars were 8-3 after week 12. You realistically needed to win 2 more games to make the playoffs, and they did not do that, only winning 9 games. One more game from then on out. It missed the playoffs. Let's just take a second and imagine what it would sound like, what the media criticism would look like if Tua got the Dolphins to an 8-3 record and didn't even make the playoffs. The media criticism of Tua has been so overblown for such a long time, whereas the lack of media criticism for Trevor Lawrence in this situation where he didn't really step up himself in the year in general, didn't have the best statistical year, didn't really look like he was a quarterback advancing in his NFL career. However, still, in spite of that, he gets to a good point in the season, 8-3, and the team crumbles from there. You look at the injuries that he sustained, or the injuries that the team sustained. He did sustain an injury himself against the Bengals, I believe it was, but losing Christian Kirk was a massive blow to this offense. It never really looked the same without Christian Kirk out on the field. He never really found great chemistry with Calvin Ridley, and Evan Ingram just kind of ate up yards, ate up catches. Wasn't a massive impact on games, but if Tua did that very same thing, if Tua had gone out there and had that type of season where, okay, you're not showing signs of progression, but your team's winning, and all of a sudden that winning cut comes to an end, and even though a player gets hurt, that you really start to see the form start to drop off. If that happened with Tua, the media would absolutely crucify him, and yet with Trevor Lawrence, struggled, did not progress, did not look like a quarterback going into his 3rd year with the team, looked a lot more like his rookie self, looked a lot like he was regressing. Almost no media criticism. Almost nobody standing up like, hey, wait a minute. Is this guy as good as he is? Last year, you did not see a strong difference between what Trevor Lawrence looked like versus what somebody like Daniel Jones has looked like in his career. Very similar comparisons with the two. Big, strong, athletic, mobile, has all these tools, and hasn't quite put it together. Now, Trevor Lawrence has obviously put it together way more than Daniel Jones has, but you look at the numbers, you look at what the team has done, made the playoffs one time, you did win a game in a massive comeback against a team that is more known for choking than I think anybody in NFL history, but still, you win that game, you go on to Arrowhead, you give a good competition to the Chiefs and ultimately fall there, but outside of that comeback win, what has Trevor Lawrence really done to prove to us that he is, the next reincarnation of Peyton Manning, next reincarnation of any great quarterback in NFL history, then souped up with the ability to move, the ability to make plays on his own. I haven't seen it from Trevor Lawrence. I know that he's certainly a very talented quarterback and has the ability to go out there and prove everything I've said wrong this year, and I do expect a better year from him. However, he is not doing what is expected of him. Tua, while certainly undersized, certainly not the most athletic, certainly not the most mobile, Tua has reached expectations and is continuing to get better with what he is good at. Trevor Lawrence, on the other hand, where you have all those incredible assets that I keep mentioning, is underwhelming, is not playing up to that level. So he certainly has a higher ceiling to Trevor Lawrence, but Tua is playing up to his floor and is consistently pushing that floor up year by year and impressing me, somebody who I have been a doubter for Tua for a while, and I'm still not fully convinced, especially now getting this big contract. I am a little bit worried about, what does this mean for the team and how is he going to play without the assets around him that they can afford to go out and get when he's under a rookie contract. But at the very least, I know he's going to play to his floor, What is his ceiling? I'm not really sure, but he is going to have a very high floor. And then from there on, hopefully the team can stay together, can stay healthy, and figure it out around him. Whereas Trevor Lawrence, he's looked at this savior of the franchise, and he has not been that. He looks like a quarterback. His highlights scream that he is an extremely talented quarterback, but Trevor Lawrence has not been as consistent, has not been as reliable, in my opinion, as what we've seen from Tua. I hope Tua continues to get even better, and we'll see it unfold on Sunday. The Jags are a lot more healthy than Dolphins are. Christian Kirk was just taken off the injury report, if I'm not mistaken, whereas the Dolphins have a whole host of injuries. So I'm really excited to see these two guys go at it, two guys that were consensus #1 overall picks, one of which obviously didn't happen, but two very talented quarterbacks. But I certainly think Tua's career up to this point has been better than Trevor Lawrence. Let me know down below in the comments, what do you think of these two quarterbacks? Who do you think is better between Tua and Trevor Lawrence? If you're a Jags fan coming over here, tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why Trevor Lawrence is the guy that we all thought he was. Let me know down below in the comments. While down there, hit that like button, hit that sub button. We appreciate y'all very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Go Dolphins.